one was to look at our particular specific situation here in Pakistan.
You mean Zardari?
Well, I mean the present government, the present dynamics, what one sees on television. How could we use some of the guidance that you mentioned to perhaps improve the situation, try and see some way ahead?
If everybody had, in an ideal situation, everybody had so much self-restraint, we would almost need no state or very little state. But we don't live in the ideal world. We live in a world which is very dangerous. It's full of, it's fraught with problems. And but I'll give you one example. When the Fukushima reactor confronted that earthquake accident, there was a big calamity in Japan, and many people went, for outside help and so forth. If you compared that with Hurricane Katrina in North America, you could almost have electrical blowouts, and suddenly you get riots and dacoitry, looting, and all these kind of things that begin. But all these things didn't happen in Japan. People were actually quiet. They formed a line, and they picked up their rations and they left. And I kept on watching the Japanese with great amount of interest, and I was very impressed that they felt I felt that they were unperturbed. I often visit that country every now and then, and sometimes if I'm late, past in a small town, past 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, light is red, I know there's nobody coming, I just cross. And the Japanese don't cross. They wait. And so there is this restraint, this inner restraint, and Japan is very modernized. It's one of the earliest modernizers of Asia. And where is this restraint in the Japanese coming from? This is true by and large of many East Asian societies, but especially in Japan you can see it practiced painfully. And this is coming from a mixture of Shintoism and Buddhism. Most Japanese are born Shinto and they die Buddhist. Many Japanese are born Shinto and die Buddhist. And what is Shintoism is not religion in the sense of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. These are Western religions, and those are Eastern religions. But to us, in my mind, to myself as a Muslim, what appears to me that these East Asian traditions, especially Shintoism, is a system of hukuk al-ibad, which is practiced very much despite secularization. The secularization in these countries is there, but it's superficial, and it's a continuation from the past. There is a certain element of sanctity and being sacred that has not eroded away, and the Japanese are still practicing that. And I think that again, being conscientious, being mindful of others, is there in every religion, in every religious tradition. But when we find something in modern polities, we get locked into legal and illegal.
What about, I mean, again, that's another concept that ihsan, that Islam also talks about, and that I don't know how that fits into any kind of government system when we are looking at the modern forms or the forms that have been passed on. The other question is in regards to your point about this ruling class actually always trying to get its sanction from another class. You talked about the dynamics of Brahman and Kshatriya classes. We've seen that, and I thought it was very interesting that in our own immediate history, we see a time when a ruler came in who was a general and then turned to the clergy to get sanction for his rule for the longest time. And then we get another general who turns to civil society and moderns of the society to get sanction for his rule. Why didn't that work then?
If you look at the Pakistani martial laws, you alluded towards them. After Ayub Khan, we saw that not only the developmentalist dictators but the democratic dictators also all made their recourse towards religion to get sanction. Whether it was Zia's Islamization program, it was Bhutto's Nizam-e-Mustafa, it was Musharraf's enlightened moderation, and so all of them made these recourses. Why? Because the median community, who are still wed to the traditional Islam itself, the orthodox idea of Islam, you cannot really win their hearts through a discourse that is alien to them.
I mean, where exactly does this fit in? Because they all claim to be the guardians and champions of the Islamic political thought, or what, of course, they use the word of Islam or things like that. I mean, does it have some history which has led us to this course where the Islamic political thought or the political process or the political vision seems so crude, unjust, or something like that?
Read the University of Chicago project on world fundamentalisms called Fundamentalisms Observed, in which all of the participants, and it's a very large multi-volume project on the panoramic survey of world fundamentalisms, it argues that all fundamentalism is one. The Jewish fundamentalist, the Hindu fundamentalist, the Christian, the Muslim, the Buddhist also. And so that was happening in Burma, for example. So first thing is that this intolerant, fanatical attitudes. Fanaticism has been around for a long time. So fanaticism and fundamentalism are related, but they are not the same thing. We can even say that Halaku Khan or Genghis Khan, these people were also fanatics, although they were not peddling any religious ideas. We could also say that Hitler was a fanatic towards a certain race cult of Arya cult, that he bastardized, taking from the myth of the Aryan purity from Hinduism, and he was not peddling any religious ideas. But the fundamentalists are peddling the religious ideas, and they can be held liable to their own ideals. Something that you cannot do with Halaku Khan. He's going to cut the throats, he's going to cut them, there is no recourse. But to the Muslim fundamentalists or the Christian fundamentalists, you can invoke the Quran and the Passion of Christ, and we can hold them accountable to those ideals. One. Second, so one thing is that all fundamentalisms are modern. Second thing is that we cannot know a principle through its abuse. If you assume for a second that all these groups, not all these groups are like that, there are also Jamaat Islami and many other groups and so forth, or Arbakan's party or Rafa party in Turkey and so forth, or the state policies of Iran that may not be like Al-Qaeda or Islamic Jihad. But Al-Qaeda and Islamic Jihad at certain points have taken up arms, involved in killing non-combatants, civilians and so forth. If 9/11 was done by them, then killing 3,000 innocent people who have nothing to do, who do not make the US foreign policy. And so this group has its own reading of Islamic philosophical paradigms. Nobody has a monopoly on truth. You have to allow people to hold their points of view. The problem is this, that the Muslim elite by and large has become secular and has abandoned religion, so religion has gone to the dogs. That's one reason.
The gentleman was asking that if there is a link within the Islamic political movements with these current...
No, but fanaticism is not only something that the sole property of religious agents, whether those be BJP and Shiv Sena and Bal Thackeray group in India, or whether it's Billy Graham in the United States, or whether it's the political Zionists of Israel. This is something that's equally there amongst the secular fundamentalists. Take into concern the Turkish military, take into concern many other groups around the world, within the Muslim world and outside the Muslim world, that could be equally fanatical. And so the fanaticism of Khawarij is something there at a certain point in history and gets buried in the heap of history and doesn't assume the size and importance that could threaten the so it was basically like a fly on your ear that you just did and it's gone. And but as far as fanaticism is concerned, it's born out of the womb of ignorance. That the principial knowledge itself could only be tolerant, could only take into concern not only all that which is good for the Muslims but also for the non-Muslims. Would practice tolerance and patience and understanding. Tolerance itself is not a virtue in and of itself. Acceptance is a virtue. And you can only accept if you understand the other. You tolerate the enemies, you don't tolerate friends. You accept the friends. And friends you have intimate knowledge of. Therefore, if we have to accept the other outside of our religion or sects within our own religion, we must understand that. Because disagreements is a rahmah in Islam. The ethics of disagreement in Islam are considered rahmah. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said that my ummah will never go astray en masse together. So if this healthy disagreement remains, it's a good thing. So we can condemn all those people who we think have an errant understanding of Islam or who are making a caricature of jihad and so forth. But that's all we can do. We cannot go and kill them. But unfortunately, the mainstream media, especially the Western world, is looking for such images. Because according to the new dispensation of the New World Order that was hashed in Bush 1, we have reasons to believe that it actually wants to take on many groups that are not radical, but by casting this image onto the others, it ends up radicalizing a significant section of the non-radicals. Let me stop here. I think our time is up.
Thank you very much.
And,